Okay. This took a little bit longer than usual. Come on, put that thumbnail up there. And 45 seconds into the stream. Okay. I'm not gonna sit here and wait for this thumbnail to materialize. I'm gonna go ahead and get started with this stream. So it says that I'm live and it says the internet can see me, so let's go ahead and get started with this. So anyway, what is up, YouTube? What is up, gamers? This is your boy Lincoln Clay coming back at you with another live one. Go ahead and smash that like button and spread my content to a wider audience. I would appreciate it. And make sure you hit the bell icon so you can stay notified whenever I put out content. I would appreciate that too. And so let me start this stream off by apologizing for the bad audio in my last stream. I was just trying to take some shortcuts so I can try to allocate more broadband to the stream so I won't have buffers and skips. And I ended up sounding like I was underwater or something, so it was terrible. So my apologies for that. And by the time I realized that that live stream had a bad audio, I was well into my activities, so you know, there was nothing I could do about it at that point except wait until the morning. So with that being said, today's podcast will be somewhat of a rinse and repeat. So I'll go over a couple of things that I was talking about in yesterday's podcast and add a couple of more on top of that. So let's with the Microsoft E3. This was a repeat. I'm just repeating yesterday's live podcast. I don't know if you were able to hear it or not. I didn't even listen to the complete playback of the live stream because it sounded so terrible. But a few days ago, I was a guest on Xbox Vidiot's beta podcast along with King Thrash, Diver, Royal Flush Gaming, Island, and I think a couple other people. And the subject came up about Microsoft's E3. And each of us were asked, what do you think Microsoft will do this year for E3? And King Thrash had the most interesting answer. He believed that Microsoft will not be at E3 this year. A lot of it due to them not having anything to show and them starting this inside Xbox, so they can do a Nintendo Direct type of presentation. And my thought on that was I really wanted to agree with that because it really makes a lot of sense. But my belief was that Microsoft will be at that E3. Even if they don't have anything to show, I still think they're going to be there, because if they don't show, it's basically showing their user base that they are waving the white flag. So I do believe they will be there regardless. They are at a point where they are just clawing and scratching to hang on to their user base. I've said this before that people who own a Switch or a PS4, their primary console, Microsoft will never get those people to switch over and take the Xbox as their first as their primary console, at least this generation. And they know that. So now they're just clawing and scratching and doing whatever they can to hang on to their user base. And to be AWOL from E3, like I said, would be them waving the white flag and just showing their user base that they just gave up. And I think a lot more people would jump over to the Switch or the PlayStation if Microsoft were to throw in the towel like that. So because of that, I do think Microsoft will be at E3. And so moving on to the next subject, State of Decay 2. It's trash. I've seen gameplay of it, and I've watched it twice. And I've said this, in yesterday's podcast. At one point, when I was watching gameplay, you got the 4-player co-op, and all 4 players it looks like they're at an abandoned gas station, and there was one zombie wandering aimlessly through the parking lot. He did not appear to be aware that there were humans there. And you got 4 people versus one zombie who seems to be minding his own business and walking off into the, wherever. And they shot him, and that was the end of that. There was another scene where, it looked, hills and stuff, no trees, just, hills, dirt, whatever. Again, 4 players, one zombie walking around aimlessly, not paying attention to humans. They shot him. That was the end of that. There was a couple of clips where, there might have been a couple of zombies there, but the 4 players, the 4 co-op players, in no scene whatsoever did I, where they appeared to be overwhelmed by zombies. It didn't look like it was a situation where zombies were surrounding them and closing in on them. It almost looked like the zombies were so scared that they went looking for zombies. And to my knowledge, when you make a zombie game, in most cases, when you play a zombie game, your player, you're on edge because you're worried that around any corner there could be a zombie or zombies, plural. And I referenced Days Gone as the prime example. You've seen the gameplay of that game, and there's tons and tons of zombies, and they are constantly looking for humans to kill or eat. They are not just wandering around aimlessly. And as you saw from the trailers of Days Gone, if those zombies hear a noise, if they see something, they react to it. There was one trailer where Deacon St. John, who's the main character of Days Gone, he blew open a gate with C4 or some kind of bomb. And when he blew that gate open, there was a flood of zombies coming through there, and they went after every human in sight. And then another trailer, the zombies saw him, and they zeroed in on him. And then that was the trailer where he was running all over the place, just shooting everything in sight, and the zombies just kept coming and coming and coming. State of Decay is nothing like that. You got, like I said, mindless zombies just wandering around, just doing nothing, and you shooting them. And it just wasn't that many zombies. And then there was another part where characters on the State of Decay took a machete and decapitated a zombie while he was laying on the ground. She cut the head off, and the head just disappeared. So that looks like the game's gonna have some terrible physics there, because you chop a head off, the head is supposed to roll a couple of feet before it stops. In this case, she chopped the head off, and then the head just disappeared, and then there was a body just laying on the ground with no head on it. So stuff like that. This game is trash. I think some of the physics are not going to be good. It looks like an indie game, and I'm not even sure it's worth the $30 that it's priced at. I would think that this game was probably going to flop, but the only reason why I think the game has a chance of having good opening launch day sales is because the Xbox community is starving for games. They so hungry right now that if you were to give them if you were to give them some grass in a Big Mac container, they'll eat it. You know, that's how hungry they are right now. But so yeah, that game is just trash. It there's no way. I was going to give it the benefit of the doubt, but no, not now. I have no interest in playing this game whatsoever. So the next topic I wanted to get into is the Days Gone delay. This game is played until 2019, and I really definitely one of the games that I was looking forward to this year, but I am actually glad that it's being delayed and being pushed back to 2019 because I've said this in a couple of my podcasts that I believe that Sony is releasing games too close to each other, and some of these games will not reach their full potential. And I used, on a couple of occasions, the Yakuza 6 and the God of War scenario, where Yakuza 6 is releasing April 17th and God of War is releasing April 20th. Now, for someone who only has enough money for one game, which game do you think they're going to buy? And Yakuza 6 is a game that I'm really interested in, but I'm not, because of it being so close to God of War, I'm not sure it's a day one purchase for me. So, in my opinion, I think they should have started the year off with Yakuza 6 or Shadow of the Colossus, whichever one they could have started the year off with. I think the game should have been released in January. So I think they should have released Shadow of the Colossus in January and did Yakuza 6 in February. Because we're in March right now, and the next exclusive coming up is MLB The Show, which that is a day one purchase for me because I love baseball. And then, like I said, you got Yakuza 6, God of War next month. You got Detroit Become Human in May. Not to mention a couple of multiplats that's coming this year. You know, Black Ops 4 is coming in October, and I guess they, moved up their launch date so they don't bump heads with Red Dead Redemption 2, because that's going to seriously obstruct some sales. So where are you going to fit Days Gone in all that stuff? That's going to be pretty tough, because I do think Days Gone is going to do pretty well. I don't know if it's going to do as well as Horizon Zero Dawn, but I do believe this game will do pretty good, but it will have an uphill battle if you release this game anywhere near Black Ops 4 or Red Dead Redemption 2. We still haven't even gotten to a release date Spider-Man yet. And then there was, rumors going around that The Last of Us 2 could still be coming out in 2018, which I don't believe that. I think it's going to come out in 2019, and I would prefer that it comes out in 2019. But I think that is a good thing that Days Gone has been delayed, because this is definitely a game, Days Gone, that I'm looking forward to. It is definitely a game that I would like to see flourish. All these single player games that Sony's coming out with this year, I want to see these games flourish so we can shut the traps of everybody talking that crap about how single player games don't sell, that nobody's playing them. I want that perception killed. So Days Gone being delayed until 2019. Hopefully they'll find a spot for it where there's no other games coming out, so the game, can flourish. So as much as I'm looking forward to that game, it's for the better that it comes out in 2019. So next up, I was at the N4G website checking out the latest news, and two articles in particular caught my attention. One, I guess this one is hot right now at 530 degrees. It says the silence surrounding Crackdown 3 is deafening. I've been screaming that for the last couple of months. The game supposedly got delayed until spring 2018. Technically, on the calendar, I believe March 21st is the first day of spring. And we're a little over 2 weeks away from that, and we haven't heard a thing yet. And technically the end of June is summer. That's your window right there, and we haven't heard a thing, haven't seen a thing. And I think that here it is, spring's around the corner yet, and nobody's saying anything about Crackdown 3 is cause for concern. A couple of months ago, when I was, bringing this subject up, my initial thought was that I wouldn't be surprised if Crackdown 3 would get canceled. Myself, I've backed away from that belief. Behind closed doors, I kind of think Microsoft probably wants to cancel that game, but they can't because they put too much money into marketing using Terry Crews and development, since this game has been developed for like 3-4 years now. So they put so much money into this game that they have to release it. Even if it's broken, they have to release it to try to recoup some of that money. Even if it, means, the name's getting smeared for releasing a broken game that's not ready. But hey, what else is new? I mean, they let PUBG get released in a broken state, so why wouldn't they do it with Crackdown 3? They had to do it. They kind of had to do it with PUBG. They had to do it while the game is hot, because in a couple of years, I do not think that PUBG is going to be a hot game anymore. It still may be popular amongst PC players, but I don't think it's going to be a hot game on the Xbox. And by the time it reaches the PlayStation, I don't think anybody's going to care about it anymore, because some of these games coming out are supposed to have battle royale modes. With Red Dead Redemption 2 being rumored to have a battle royale mode. Anyway, I got off the tracks a little bit, but I think, they have to release Crackdown 3, broken or not, because they got to try to get some of that money back. And I think that's I wouldn't even be surprised if that's what happened with State of Decay 2. As garbage as that game looks, I'm beginning to wonder if they, if the developers wanted more time to polish the game, and Microsoft said, that's it, we've dragged this thing out long enough, it's time to release this game. Crackdown 3 will reach that point. They're going to reach that point where they, where they're not going to give the developers any more time, and it's time to get it out there regardless. I think they're going to keep their mouth shut about this game until it's ready, because if they have to announce that Crackdown 3 is delayed again, it will kill any hype that game has left. So I think Microsoft is going to keep their mouth shut and won't say anything more about Crackdown 3 until it's ready. So, and I think I'll touch on one more subject. This headline right here at N4G says the Xbox One has lost this generation to the Switch and the PS4. Well, no shit. Well, gee, with the PlayStation closing in on 80 million and the Xbox sitting at around 35 million, I kind of got the impression that this generation was over a while ago. So, I don't need to get into about this generation is over. We already know this generation is over. But the reason why I took a look at that headline, it made me think about a article that I saw that I didn't read the article, but it says something to the effect of some analysts believe that the that the Nintendo Switch could catch the Xbox by the end of this year. Boy, that's a tough order right there. That's a tall order. I mean, let's crunch the numbers. Microsoft is sitting at about 35 million. The Xbox One has been out a little over 4 years. So for the sake of for the sake of making the math easier, let's just say that the Xbox One is sitting on 36 million. So when you divide that by 4, they've sold 9 million units here. So next year that would have the Xbox sitting on by this time next year they would be sitting at about 45 million. Now, go back to the Nintendo Switch. It's been out for a year now, and last numbers reported were 14 million. But again, making the math easier, I'm going to say that they're sitting on 15 million right now, which which I wouldn't be surprised if they're sitting on 15 million right now anyway. But let's just say they're sitting on 15 million. In order to catch Microsoft this year, they would have to sell 30 million units this year. That is very, very tough. Even with the Pokemon and the Smash Brothers and the other games that they've got planned coming out, I know they're going to sell a lot of units. There's no doubt in my mind that they're going to sell another 15 million this year minimum. I think they can probably even do 20 million, but 30 million, oof, that is tough. Not to mention that even though these Nintendo Switch flying off the shelves, it is not a cheap console. It is $300. And I bought my son a Nintendo Switch because he wanted one. And, and I was like kind of cringing a little bit about that $300 price tag. Knowing that later on in the year that he was going to want an Xbox One X, which was $500. So my son does have an Xbox One X and he does have a Nintendo Switch. Those are two consoles. Between those two right there, I spent $800. With that being said, if the Nintendo Switch was $200, I would have bought one for myself in a heartbeat, even if I don't play it that much. But because I know I wouldn't play it that much, $300 is a little bit steep for me. So that on a large scale, I think something like that is one of the obstacles that Nintendo could face in trying to reach 30 million in 1 year. There's no doubt they will catch the Xbox in 2019. But, that generation will be over by then, or at least it'll be headed into the twilight. But yes, there's no doubt in my mind the Switch will catch the Xbox in 2019, but to catch them this year, that is a very tall order. We're talking 30 million units this year alone. And we're already 3 months into the year. So I would probably say from here on out, in order to catch the Xbox One by the end of this year, let me see. By the end of this year, yes, they would have to average 10 million units a month for the rest of this year to catch the Xbox by the end of this year. When you break that down, that's 2.5 million units a week. And I look at the VG charts for weekly numbers, monthly numbers, and on average, I think the PlayStation 4, I think on average sells about I think anywhere from 3 to 400,000 units a week. So, I mean, that's what the numbers are now. So, like that's going to be a tall order. But, I'll revisit this subject again as we draw closer to the Nintendo Switch catching the Xbox. And so, with that being said, I think it's time to go get another workout in. And then tonight is going to be another double workout. I'm going to go to the gym, and at some point today, I'm going to play Knockout League again, to burn some more calories. One of the things that's pretty neat about that game is after every fight up in the corner, it shows you how many calories you burned. So, I don't know. I'm thinking about live streaming Knockout League, and then for those who thinking about getting some cardio in, losing a little bit of weight, whatever. I'll throw some numbers at you about how many calories you're burning per fight on a Knockout League game, how many calories a human takes in a day, how many calories they burn a day on average, stuff like that. So you can get an idea of where you're sitting at as far as your health, and your eating habits go. So, but keep an eye out for that. But it's time for me to go on ahead and crank these weights. I got some things that I got to knock out today. So let me get them taken care of. But thanks for listening. If you should happen to catch the replay, I appreciate that as well. Hopefully when I listen to the playback, the audio will be clear and will not sound like it's underwater again. Hopefully the buffering and the skips were minimal. But anyway, I will holler at you guys later. I'm sure I'll do another live stream, whether it's tomorrow or Monday, whatever the case may be. Also, if you're a subscriber to King Thrash, keep an eye out for his Roundtable podcast on Tuesday evening. I think we go on somewhere between 8 and 9 o'clock. If you subscribe to him, you will get the notification when he goes live. I'm part of the Roundtable, and we get into some pretty good subjects every week. So, check that out too. And that's going to do it for me. Let me get on down the rock and get to the gym and start cranking this iron. And this is your boy, Lincoln Clay. I will